Hello everybody, and welcome to another assessment mini lecture. This one will be dealing with some assessment tips and sampling strategy, and it'll be based on our experiences with both, and it assumes that most of your assessment will occur in the last 5 to 10 minutes of your instruction session. Assessment tip 1, complete the assessment during class. The advantages: response rate is much higher. In our experience, it can run 20 to 30% higher. There's also fewer outside factors to influence the reaction of the students when they're completing the assessment. For example, if they are asked to do one after the class is over, assuming they even do it, they may be influenced by what's going on around them at the time rather than their reaction to the actual instruction session. The disadvantages: it does take time from teaching. You're giving up 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the session, and there is less time for deep reflection. Assessment tip 2, use paper forms. The advantages are it saves a great deal of time from students having to log in and find an online form. We find that the response rate is improved from 50 to 60% to 80 to 90%. One way to make this advantage work for you is we have paper copies already at the tables where the students will be sitting. They can fill them out anytime during the session, and they can just leave them there for you to gather later. The disadvantages: it does add time because of the need for manual data entry, and it adds time and the cost of paper and copying. The next assessment tip: use a mix of rating and comment items on your feedback forms. The advantages: this captures a broader, richer range of data, not only ratings such as Likert scales, but also free text like comments. And it captures more data. We find that students in a hurry will at least complete the quantitative or the rating items, where students with more time or with something they really want to say will leave comment data as well. The disadvantage is data analysis tends to be more time consuming, both for data entry and for complex data analysis, since you're doing both quantitative and qualitative data. And frankly, the comment quality and utility can be low. So be prepared for students who write things like "he's nice," or "she's knowledgeable," or "I'm tired," things that may or may not be particularly helpful. As far as sampling strategies go, we do recommend them, particularly if you're doing a large number of sessions or sessions with a large number of people. There's really no need for you to assess all the participants in all the sessions that you're doing. A sample will work just fine. Sampling strategy involves 2 factors. One of them is the actual sample size, and the other is the sample representativeness. The sample size should be large enough to produce statistically meaningful results and small enough to be manageable. We have found in our experience that a minimum of 10% of the target population, that is the groups you're planning to study, will probably do the trick. You can, of course, have a larger sample size. Sample representativeness should reflect the range and variation within the target population. Let me give you an example of how this would work. Here's a hypothetical. The target population are 10 sections of English Comp, each with 20 students per section. So nominally 200 students, assuming everybody shows up. Let's assume that you gave the assessment and 80% of the students completed the feedback form. This gives you 160 forms in your population. If we assume a sample size of 10%, that gives you 16 feedback forms to analyze. To make these representative, here's something you can do. You can randomly select one feedback form from each section, which will give you your first 10 forms. Then randomly select one student feedback form from 6 of the remaining 10 sections for the remaining 6 forms, which will give you a total of 16. We'll talk more about this sort of thing as the course progresses.